Well, welcome everyone to our GTACC session, where we are having a session with Five9 and Unity. With the subject is moving to the cloud with UCaaS and CCaaS, the secret sauce to better customer experience. And we have a wonderful panel today, but just a few housekeeping items. You can put in your questions anytime you like throughout the session, just using the chat box. And you'll definitely be able to watch this again. The recording will be sent out to you. And if you need any more information, and we'll give you the number at the end is again, but you can connect directly with Brooke Miller. She's from Unity, and her number's right on the slide there. And you can email her at any point. But yeah, I'm going to turn this over to our moderator, Adriana Grella from Unity. And Adriana, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adriana Grella. I'm from Unity Connected Solutions. And Unity is a systems integrator, and we deliver unified communications and contact center solutions to organizations across the globe. And we're very pleased today to take you through an agenda focused around customer experience and contact center and unified communications. And so we're going to start off and discuss the evolution of unified communications and contact center. Then we'll move into what makes up good and bad customer experiences, followed by the power of Microsoft in the contact center. And then happy to take your questions as well at the end of the session. So our featured speakers today, we have Craig Sherry, who's the Chief Technology Officer from Unity. John Arnold, the Principal Analyst from J. Arnold and Associates. And Brandon Viamonte, Microsoft Alliance Manager from Five9. So thank you, gentlemen, for participating today. Great to have you. So let's have a look at the evolution of unified communications and contact center. We'll start off, John, can you please tell us a little bit about the history of unified communications and contact center?
You're on mute, John.
Sorry about that. Yeah, unmute. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, thank you for the introduction, Adriana, and welcome to everyone who's joining us today. And it's great to have this group together. So I am an independent technology analyst, so I focus on the market trends in the collaboration and contact center spaces, and these are coming together in many different ways lately. So in terms of context for how we got here, right? So the kind of evolution, so to speak, of getting the contact center and UC to where it is today, these types of solutions started out being premises based, but now with the cloud kind of driving everything, there's a rush to get these solutions in the cloud as fast as possible. This process has been underway in the UC space for a little longer, so that market is largely gone to the cloud at this point, whereas contact center has lagged for a few years. So the kind of the rush to this has really been just maybe in the last year and a half or two, but it's catching up quickly. And as you get everything going into the cloud, these are like the drivers, right? What happens is when you put things in the cloud, you get a lot more flexibility for how things are done because everything is running on a common platform. And when everything becomes digitized, which is what happens when you go into the cloud, solutions and applications can interwork together in ways that they couldn't very well before. Historically, as we know, contact center has kind of lived in a parallel world to, the equivalent in the prem world would have been the PBX in the enterprise, right? So when the PBX ran its course, so to speak, UC, or Unified Communications, was the successor technology from the telephony vendors to keep their kind of dominance on the desktop going. Along the same lines, contact center has always been in its own world with a very kind of specialized form of technology applications. Now with cloud, everybody can do everything, so to speak. So it has allowed companies who aren't normally in the contact center space to be either in it or adjacent to it. And that's giving rise to this idea of putting cloud as a common platform, using cloud as a common platform to support, excuse me, both UC and contact center. A lot of common applications allows you to kind of streamline your deployments, which for IT is a convenient thing, of course, because it's fewer solutions, possibly fewer vendors to manage. So there's an attraction there to go down this path. But basically, once cloud, contact center and enterprises are both on the same track to put applications in the cloud, now these possibilities open up. At the same time, Adriana, we talk about the trends and the evolution. The contact center world itself is being kind of transformed because when you go to cloud, you're using digital technologies. In the consumer world, where we are the buyers of products who are going to contact centers for support, many consumers are now pretty tech savvy, and they have been adopting new applications and software and endpoints, etc., kind of at a faster rate than contact centers have been able to match. So there's what I call a CX gap in a lot of contact centers, where the expectations now from customers about how they need to engage and be supported by brands and their companies when they need help, they're higher now than what a lot of contact centers are able to deliver. And so that's creating some real tension, especially in contact centers where premise-based is more the norm. The move to the cloud has been kind of limited, or maybe just stop and start, see what works kind of thing, but it's not moving fast enough. So this gap is creating some issues, because when companies become more CX, that's customer experience, when that becomes a strategic item, in other words, the company measures its success by how happy its customers are, that puts the onus on the contact center to up its game. And that's partly why the rush to cloud is so strong right now in contact center, because it's really the only path you can take to get on a kind of a level playing field, right? And support customers the way they expect to be. They're already in the cloud. Contact center needs to get there. So whether you do it in pieces or all at once, that's kind of the driver here to where things are going. So the evolution is, UC has started the trend to cloud. Contact center is catching up. But in parallel to that, there's a good business case to be made now that all of these can be supported on a common cloud-based platform. There's a pretty good rationale to be looking at, and we'll explore that here over the next while as to what that rationale looks like. But when you have that capability, you're in a better position now to meet the expectations of customers, because it's one of those you can't get there from here if you just atrophy and stay where you are. You can attack some of the problems piecemeal, but you really won't get on a level playing field with your customers until you start going down this path. So I think, Adriana, that's a pretty good overview to kind of set the stage for a little bit of dialogue here.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen this evolution, and obviously it's evolving. Craig, does this resonate with you as well, what you're seeing in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with John. I think it also, like, you need to be vigilant. You almost have, it's pretty much almost imperative now that you need to have some type of continual improvement model in the organization when you're looking at customer experience as well.
Right. And Brandon, have you seen the evolution over the years, and what do you feel is the current state of UC and contact center today?
You're on mute, Brandon.
I would say the state of unified communications is almost already starting to take its next evolution, which is in the communication platform as a service. So we had unified communications was just getting all those digital channels into the cloud. Now we're making it to what John stated, is we're making it to where you can integrate, automate very seamlessly with the platforms that you're working on from unified communications state. And where I think it's, having been in communications for the last 20 years, where I'm seeing the next generation is, I think the reason that there was a solid lag between the contact center moving to the cloud, even though, companies, the cloud contact center has been around for 20 years, I think that the reason that there's been a lag is that trust. People trusted that the application on premise was going to be rock solid. It was going to work. There could be issues with it, but they could control those issues to a point where they got it to a state of, a solid state. And now with, the clouds, I believe customers are starting to believe that the stability and the uptime and reliability of those cloud applications is going to meet their standards, which is why I believe that you're going to see an extraordinary adoption of cloud contact centers over here in the next few years.
Right. And I truly believe, great customer experience requires the support of the entire organization. So we're definitely seeing unified communications and contact center definitely coming together to form that. So thank you, gentlemen. Well, let's look at what makes up, great, exceptional customer experiences, and let's also look at bad experiences. So we'll start with the bad. So across regions and demographics, having to speak to multiple reps and waiting long to reach customer service ranks the highest in factors that cause bad customer experience. And this is based on a service index, a 5.9 customer service index, that report that was provided. So obviously, this is really key. Brandon, is this at par with what you're seeing with customer experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone here knows what a bad customer experience looks like. We've all felt it, we've all experienced it, and it drives us crazy as consumers. I think it in particular myself, it drives me even crazier because I sit there and I know that there's a solution in the background. I know that there's things that can be done. But from my standpoint, when I have a bad customer experience, especially knowing what is out there, to me, it shows that either the business is behind or it's something that they're not prioritizing, which I always find really interesting, because when you look at most organizations, they define the customer experience as the experience with an organization. And even that definition, when we talk about the complexity of modern customers, has changed over the years. So customers used to kind of expect to have an average at best experience, but now they're demanding a good CX. So bad CX is not just not providing the right solutions for the customers that you're providing for a long-term relationship. It's really not investing in your business and where it's going in the future, in my opinion. So bad CX has a whole host of ramifications in terms of which are going to have a true business impact on both consumers, the employees that work within the agent, the customer experience, then also the business's ability to grow effectively. So absolutely. And I think what's also really interesting to discuss is the experience. The definition of an experience has changed. About 2/3 of the people that we talk to out there say that the experience that they're looking for a positive experience is really just defining accurate service and information. So can you provide accurate service and information with the tools that you have today? So that's everything that we're really looking at to make sure that we eliminate and avoid the bad experiences.
Right. And how does the integration between unified communication and contact center solutions, how does that play a part?
I think there's different levels in which that plays a part. I'd say the most direct way in which that is bringing the pieces together is taking that island, as John described in his opening, that group of island agents that were sitting there, and really being able to bring them together with subject matter experts and really be able to tie them to the knowledge workers that might be tied to systems or information that can readily help a customer within that journey on a communication with an organization. So unified communications coming together with the contact center, it's really a newer concept, because I don't want to say that it didn't exist before. It did, but it was disjointed and it was difficult. So really bringing the whole organization into the customer experience, I think, is very important, because no matter where I've worked, no matter what my role has been, either in sales as a consultant, everyone is in sales. Everyone is providing that experience to a customer. So everyone within an organization needs those tools, and they need to understand how their particular role within an organization impacts the customer experience.
Right. All right, let's look at good customer experience. So customer service experiences are overwhelming positive when the rep gets the answer right, even if it takes more time. And again, this is from the 5.9 Customer Service Index Consumer Report from 2021. So when we look at some of these ratings around good customer experience, we see right at the top, you know, that the reps get the right answers, the customer's experience is much more positive, even if it takes more time. You know, just being able to get the right information and the information they're looking for is really a driving force to that whole experience. So, John, it seems like customers just want to get to the bottom of their problem. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure, for sure. You know, the idea of comparing good and bad CX, it's not just a simple matter of, you know, the absence of one gives you the other, right? You know, if you're going to get passed around and have to repeat yourself, yes, that creates a bad experience. But the opposite isn't necessarily true. If you don't get passed around, you'll have a good experience. Well, no, because, you know, there are many touch points during an interaction that can make or break, right, a customer service experience. So, you know, we call these moments of truth, right? So, you know, it's how quickly the phone is answered, how friendly is the agent, how quickly do they respond to the question, how do they handle the inquiry. There's so many touch points along the way that can, you know, offset or completely undo one of these items, right? So I think the important thing to me as an analyst is all of these items in the survey here contribute to customer experience. So, you know, for a buyer, a decision maker, it isn't a simple thing as you just fix this one thing, right? And you're going to get a good CX. The good CX here is really, you know, it's reflected by doing all of these things well, right? But clearly, yes, to your question, Adriana, getting to the bottom of it, it's generally, yeah, getting the right answer. And the interesting thing here about it taking more time is a reflection of, you know, the bar with customer service in this industry has been low for so long because, you know, it's been so hard to get the right level of service to people. And a lot of it has to do with the technologies the agents have to work with. That's why we're here today, right? And so there's so much opportunity to raise the bar and remove these barriers to good service. And what we're trying to do, and this is why we'll get to the UC conversation, right? Good customer experiences kind of mean that very little effort is involved, both for the agent to provide the service and for the customer to get the resolution they want. So what I'm trying to say here is the reason why UC kind of, you know, augments customer service in a lot of ways is for agents to do these things in the chart, especially get the right answer. They don't have the right answers most of the time. So they have to tap people within the organization who may not be in the contact center. You know, like you were saying earlier, Brendan, you know, it's like salespeople are frontliners too. Marketing people are frontliners too. So you've got to be able to have access to people who can get you the answer in real time and make it look seamless and transparent. When you can do that, the technology kind of fades into the background and lets the agent kind of do what they're good at, and that's interacting with customers in real time and making it feel like a personalized experience. And that's what makes for a good CX in the end. So the technology is kind of that underlying enabler for all of this. And when it plays its part right, these kind of outcomes are what we generally get. And then, yeah, then we have a good outcome for everybody.
Good. And Brandon, in your experience, what does a strong UC and contact center integration do to confront this need?
Well, what it's allowing for is jointed communications between the CX experts, the systems that they're working with, and then also the people that might have answers that others don't. I mean, having the tools and investing in the tools is very important, but it's also a people experience. You know, we can talk about technology, we can talk about the tools all day long. It's also, are we investing in making sure that the people in the organization is an organization driven towards customer experience? And I think a lot of the time people say, okay, I put in this technology, now it should just work. that's not necessarily the case. Investing in the technology, bringing the whole organization into the customer experience, but then more importantly, making sure that everyone is aware of their part of that experience and how they play a part, leveraging the technology to as the communication tool is very important. Because, as I really like what John said there, the technology fades away. No one has ever walked into a beautiful home and said, I wonder what saw they used to cut that, that wood down. You really need to understand that the tools are really there to create a beautiful experience, but it's really the people and the result of the experience that we should be focusing on, and always backwards engineering. What is the experience that you want to have, and then bringing it backwards and understanding what those tools are. And from a unified communication standpoint, from a contact center standpoint, if you don't have the correct tools, you're not going to be able to get to that experience. You might get close to it. You might be able to wish you could get there. But if everyone within the organization doesn't have the tools and doesn't have the ability to communicate effectively and quickly, you're not going to reach that experience. So UC and the contact center experience are intertwined along with the people element of that within, and then also from from the top down, a statement to make sure that customer experience is the driving factor of everybody's day on a given at a given point in time. So yeah, absolutely very important.
Okay, great, good. All right, let's have a look at the impact of good and bad customer experience. So what are the causes of agent attrition in your contact center? We've seen noted as top of the list, workload is the top item that we've seen. Customer satisfaction increases by 26% when agent turnover rates are less than 15% per year. And 60% of failed attempts at first call resolution are due to an agent's inability to access the right data. So really, when we look at some of these key stats, we obviously start to look at the agents and also their ability to ensure that the customer experience is a positive one. So Craig, what are your initial thoughts on these stats, and how can technology help solve these challenges?
Yeah, thank you, Adriana. And I think it's essential to look from an agent's perspective. And I like what John said, actually. Ultimately, any technology solution, should be working in the background to make that agent look good and automate repetitive tasks. This just typically isn't achievable with the legacy applications that we have. So it's really time to start looking at introducing next-gen technologies into the customer experience. Solutions like Agent Assist from Five9 leverage AI to deliver real-time guidance, during a customer interaction, and transcription services, really to stop note-taking. It's these types of solutions that are going to reduce that workload, create, happier agents, less attrition, and ultimately higher customer satisfaction.
Right. And John, what's the bottom line here for businesses looking to address their customer experience?
Well, they've got to think beyond just the customer. The agent experience is in many ways just as important as the customer experience. They kind of go hand in hand, but that leading indicator of workload, when agents don't have the tools, they get stuck doing the routine inquiries, all of that stuff heaps on their workload. That's what leads to burnout and turnover. And when agents are not given the tools to do the right job, their experience is going to be bad. And that's just going to spill over into the kind of service the customer gets. It's a combination of willing and able as well, by the way, right? Having the right technology enables agents to do a great job. But if they don't have the right tools, and it's so frustrating to just do the most simple things, now it's a matter of willing to do what's needed to provide good service. And that comes back to what Brandon hinted at earlier about when businesses get religion about CX and become more customer-centric, everything works backwards from how do we please the customer? The company performs better when everyone does that. That's a culture thing, right? And so the good contact centers generally have a strong, customer-centric culture where, they know they've got their backs covered by the rest of the organization to support them. If they just feel like they're an outpost in the organization no one pays attention to, and let the contact center handle all the customer problems, well, they feel like a bit of an orphan, right? And then that's kind of what seeds a lot of this attrition that we see. So, on a micro level, that circle graph there about the failed attempts, of course, that the technology goes a long way to supporting that. And I think the takeaway, Adriana, is for companies to realize that, you know, it's also about agent experience too. So when that agent has a good experience with the right tools, you know, it's a linear relationship. Customer experience is going to improve. And obviously the opposite is true too.
Right. And all of this is so transparent to the customer because it's all working in the background, right? So definitely. Brandon, does this resonate with you as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot more to fill in on this one because I think he did such a really good job of explaining it. I couldn't agree more. It's culture, tools, training, people, it's all of the above. And you really need to invest in all of them because you can't invest in one area and then not the other and expect it all to come together.
Right, right.
Yeah, you know, if I just want to add something to that, Brendan, you know, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, we just got to pay the agents more money, right? I mean, that's a simple fix, but that's coming from the wrong place. That doesn't get to root cause at all. This conversation here is very much root cause, right? This is when companies understand this, then you realize, oh yeah, I don't have to just pay my agents more. No, spend that money and get the right technology, and then these things kind of go from there.
Right, right. Okay, great. Thanks, gentlemen. This is really valuable information and feedback. Let's have a look at the unified communications aspect of the total solution and really the power of Microsoft Teams. So Craig, how do we leverage Microsoft Teams to impact customer experience?
Yeah, thanks, Adriana. Like Microsoft really changed the game for UCaaS. They kind of had the upper hand. They got the desktop first. So, you know, the benefit for organizations today is that Microsoft Teams is a familiar user interface. So a lot of organizations have already adopted and deployed Teams. You know, the next logical step is really to enable its telephony features. This is where Microsoft took a different approach. You know, they didn't go after the 999 PBX features. They went after the core business features that businesses truly need, and they did them very well. So, you know, once we deploy these telephony features and we enable them, that's when we can really start to kind of blend and integrate that UCaaS with that CCaaS experience to improve customer experience.
Right, right. And Brandon, how do we leverage Microsoft Teams to impact customer experience? And how does 5.9 add to that impact?
Well, really what we are leveraging from the contact center component from Teams is really expanding the agent experience into the rest of the organization, but organizing it and making it seamless and in real time. So I think that's really where, you know, bringing those two pieces together is having that impact. And I couldn't agree more with the impact that Microsoft has had on the unified communication experience from a business standpoint. Because honestly, one of the biggest challenges we've seen in unified communications was brought on by the smartphone. How many of us text, video conference, make a phone call, check your email? You do all these things. And how many times did you say that? I can do this on my phone at work or on my phone. Why can't I do this at work? And Teams is really bringing that and taking it to another level with not just, you know, collaborating and incorporating, you know, the CX experience into the work experience. It's taking it to another level with automation and, you know, alerts and just so many other things that you can do. So from a 5.9 perspective, what we're really looking at is the agent experience with the tools that are developed specifically for agents and then extending those into the rest of the organization.
Right. Okay. Well, let's have a look at incorporating the entire organization really into the customer journey. So tell me, Brandon, how is 5.9 and Teams' integration bringing all those tools together to provide a unified experience?
Sure. So if you look at the legacy, tools that we had out there, you had chat, you had voice, phone calls, you had all these different tools, but they were disjointed, they were difficult to manage, they didn't necessarily always work together, and they really forced you to focus on making the technology work as opposed to making the technology work for you. Where we have on the left side of this screen here, where we have the agent in a silo, that was kind of the legacy call center agent. While he could chat, he could do all these other things, he didn't necessarily have real-time access to all of the knowledge workers and subject matter experts that worked within the organization with them. There was that proverbial barrier there. And the barrier came from lack of visibility and lack of ability to know what was happening in real time. That's where when, what Craig said, when Microsoft changed the unified communication game, really adding, it wasn't just saying, hey, we're going to be able to chat and talk to each other and create conferences and really, take what, Avaya and Cisco and, disjointed, chat solutions it did. It says we're going to create that into a one large solution, because I think we all remember AOL Instant Messenger. We all remember MSN Messenger. So when you take those solutions and you add them into, say, a business server application, now we're taking all of the power of communications and we're enabling it across the organization. So we're used to have that barrier between calling and the rest of the organization. If you look at the right side of the screen, Microsoft Teams and the integration that Five9 has with it is allowing us to organize those subject matter experts, no matter where they reside within an organization, whether they work from home, whether they work in your country, outside the borders of your organization, or down the street from you. We're now organizing those organizations by subject matter experts, knowledge workers, and we're giving you the understanding of what is their presence in this moment. So the agent is speaking with the customer. He can now go and say, okay, the customer has a shipping issue, they have a technology issue with their existing solutions, and then they also need to talk to billing. We can go and look and see who is the most readily available person and group within those different subject matter experts and identify how we can most quickly bring them into the organization or into the communication to resolve those challenges. So as the customer experience has become more challenging and time is of the essence to resolve those challenges, taking the time to get the correct person to solve the correct problem as quickly as possible as we move on to the next challenge for that customer on that single call is what Microsoft and the integration into Microsoft Teams is allowing us to do. Who is the expert? Who is available right now? How can I solve this problem most quickly for the customer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Craig, what successes has Unity's customers experienced when implementing both the Microsoft Teams and Five9 together?
Yeah, well, they're getting current best of breed cloud technologies in the UCaaS and CCaaS space that are tightly integrated to produce a competitive edge. You can tell when you reach out to businesses, which ones are using these next gen technologies. The customer experience is just superior. So, as we deploy these solutions into customers, we're continuing to see our customers have higher first call resolution, reduced attrition rates, which ultimately leads to higher customer satisfaction.
Right, right. And John, does that resonate as well with you?
Oh yeah, for sure. This idea that Five9, for example, is what we call a best of breed, right? This is all they do. So there's two important takeaways here that add so much to what the Teams piece brings. Is first of all, Five9 as a vendor is contact center only, so their expertise runs deep. It's a vertical play that way, and they understand how all these pieces fit together. And the second part of it too is that Five9 in particular is cloud native, right? So we talked earlier about that early trend evolution chart we brought up, Adriana, that it shows this shift to the cloud is like the starting point for businesses and contact centers to go on this journey. And once they go there, it's like, okay, well, now that we're in the cloud, we've got to be able to do that. And that, when it's built cloud from the ground up, Five9 brings a lot of that kind of expertise in knowing how cloud platforms work. And that's not the case for every vendor out there. The ones that come straight out of the legacy world have evolved their legacy platforms into cloud. Some do it better than others, and there's a case to be made for both types of vendors. But in this case, yeah, this is a good match between with Microsoft dominating at the desktop with UC, and of course Microsoft does not natively have its own contact center piece. So this is also a kind of best of breed approach overall, right? Where you're getting top, best in class for UC, best in class for contact center, and Unity, to your namesake, right, Adriana, brings that together.
Yes, right. Thank you. Okay, great. So some takeaways here. Craig, what are your key takeaways for businesses?
I'd say it's time to embrace these next gen cloud solutions and ultimately adopt some type of continual improvement model when looking at your customer experience. It's really an ongoing journey, so it's not about a destination.
Right. And Brandon, what's one thing you'd like the attendees here today to walk away knowing?
I would say if you're going to walk away with anything, that a solution to begin the journey to deliver a great customer experience exists. The tools are there, the pieces are there. You can do it. But most importantly, if you are going to go on that journey, invest in the partners you're going to do it with, understand where they come from and how they're bringing those positions together. And then more importantly, your culture and your needs for your customers is where you really need to start. Culture and understanding your customer base, and then backwards engineer that into the tools that are going to make sense for you long term.
Okay, great. And John, what's the bottom line here as it relates to customer experience?
Yeah, well, first off, I'd like to say that in the marketplace, there are a lot of choices, and there are a lot of vendors who can do these things very well. And what we haven't talked about, Adriana, is what Unity brings to the table, because together, these two solutions are a great offering for contact centers who want to get on that cloud journey. But the real kind of enabler for all this is when you have an SI like Unity who knows how to bring the pieces together. So the takeaway for the decision maker is there's no like black and white plan here to go to cloud. It's going to be a gradual thing. You could go all in right from the start, but cloud doesn't have to be this like painful, risky, disruptive transition. And with a good system integrator like Unity, they can develop a plan for you to migrate kind of safely and, you know, bits and pieces so you get comfortable with it and see the results, and then bring you further along as it goes. Like, we haven't even talked about AI, which is a strong point for 5.9. I know that for sure. And that comes later in the journey. But right now, let's figure out how to fix that CX gap I talked about earlier. Get on a level playing field with your agents and customers, and then you can build on that, because at least now you're in the game.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you, John. Well, excellent information. Appreciate you sharing your input. Let's have a look at some questions here from the audience. All right. So just looking here, the first one I have is I guess for Brandon or Craig. What should I implement first, UC or contact center in the cloud?
I mean, I'm going to say contact center, of course, but I'm going to defer this question to Craig.
No problem. Thanks, Brandon. Actually, what we're seeing with our customers is we're doing it in parallel.
Right.
So we're ultimately on two different approaches and two different timelines, and we're meeting at the middle so that when we do go to deploy that contact center, that foundational Teams telephony environment's in place, and we have those hooks and those integrations ready. But they're ultimately going live at similar timeframes.
Okay, and what's required, Craig, on the Microsoft side in order to deploy UC in the contact center?
From a Microsoft perspective, once you're on Microsoft 365, really it's ultimately one license that we're looking for, and that's phone system. That brings in those telephony features and then allows Unity to bring in its direct routing, which is ultimately the PSTN SIP connections that we bring to Teams that are much more competitive than Microsoft's calling plans, and also give more flexibility. But once we get that license in and we attach those calling plans from Unity, we're ready to go. So.
Okay, excellent. And Brandon, question here, does 5.9 integrate with any CRM systems, and how complicated is this integration?
Well, so let's start with, do we integrate with other systems? The answer is absolutely. We have our traditional out of the box, integrations, with Dynamics, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Oracle, Zendesk, all these different solutions that our customers are using. We're integrated into those. So because, the most important thing, one of the biggest challenges, because we were talking about challenges of growing, a cloud contact center solution, was not to be able to simply have a cloud contact center solution, but be able to really address the complexities of our customers and the solutions that they're using on a daily basis, but bringing those into the fold and making sure that they're supported. So 5.9 absolutely has fantastic integrations into all of those different solutions. But outside of just the traditional CRMs that we're working with, we also do support custom CRM integration. So if your organization has built a .NET application that's very specific to you, we're going to be able to integrate that with that. And this is something that obviously working with our technical teams and working with Unity, we would walk through with you. And how complex is it? I would say that we have different levels of integrations, obviously, with the different solutions that we offer. The integrations are fairly straightforward because the difference between technology 10 years ago and today is integration is a key component of technology today. So the integration is actually not that big of a challenge. Obviously, we have our due diligence. We have a lot of experience working with integrating our solutions into your environment as a customer. But the key is we do it all the time. It's a key part of our business. And more importantly, it's going to be a component of our business that grows with an organization as they evolve.
Okay, great. Another question we have here, do you deliver a solution for virtual agents and chatbots? And are you seeing a trend in customers deploying this solution within their contact center environments? Brandon?
Let me take the first half of that, and then I'll punt it over to Craig. We do offer full automation, different levels of automation and AI within the contact center. So we can add basic speech recognition to an auto attendant, all the way into conversational AI through the solutions that we offer. So AI and automation is a really loaded question. And I think what's really important to know about the AI is the solutions do exist, but there are huge gaps in terms of cost benefit to them, that as you are going through that, at least from the contact center perspective, you really need to understand what business problems are you trying to solve with automation, and then what solutions make sense there. So that's at least from the 5.9 perspective. We do offer it. We offer it every day. One of the major acquisitions that 5.9 made a few years ago was Inference, which is now our intelligent virtual agent solution. So we are really focusing with that, and then also the AI solutions with that. So Craig, I'll let you take what's your perspective on AI and automation within UC and contact center?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Actually, we're seeing a massive uptake. We just recently had 2 or 3 internal resources get trained up and certified specifically around IVA. So these chatbots and these virtual agents, and we're really excited to introduce it into our own support center, displacing some of those legacy services. So it's an exciting time, and once we get it deployed, we're really happy to share it with customers on how we're leveraging it.
Right. And also, I think with virtual agents, we're not only seeing that impact customer experience, but we're also seeing customers being able to expand their services, augment their availability, et cetera. So, again, bringing a lot of benefits to the business. So thank you.
Yeah, to expand even further, where we are seeing some of the most real immediate impact and success is leveraging this automation to remove mundane tasks for agents, so improving the agent experience, but also it's allowing the self-service for people that just want to come in there and say, maybe check a balance or change an address or do something fairly mundane. So when I say you really want to evaluate what you're going to do with an AI and automation solution, make sure that it's resolving a problem and it's having a positive impact. Because I know that, say 10 years ago, when we really started trying to incorporate these solutions into the customer experience, we tried to go and do too much. And by trying to do too much, we did a bad job. I'd say now with the experience and now with the solutions that are offered, it's a much different experience delivering the automation. And so really let the people that have deployed it, let the experts help you out with that, because we want to make sure that we understand your business before we recommend solutions. So also this goes to the customer working and having trusted advisors with the solutions providers that they're bringing is, you have to empower them with information. You have to understand your business, empower them with information, because if you're not doing that, automation is going to be a really expensive paperweight.
Right. Okay, very good. Another question that's come in, what are some of the pitfalls to avoid when integrating our back office to our contact center?
I mean, I'd say pitfalls is just make sure that from an end-to-end solution that you have the right tools to make it work. It's not one or the other; it's one and the other in terms of bringing these pieces together. Because if there's a piece missing in that, that pie to bring all these together, there's going to be a gap, and then it's not going to work to the expectations that you have. This is, I'll be honest, this is where Unity comes in. They have the visibility across the spectrum. You guys have that visibility to really help.
Right. Craig, do you have anything to add?
Not at this point. I think Brandon did a good job covering it.
Okay. All right, good. Another comment here that we have, how have you found the adoption of MS Teams telephony with your customers? Craig, do you want to take that?
Yeah, no problem. Most of our customers have Microsoft 365 deployed, and kind of as I mentioned earlier, it's a familiar user interface, right? So when we talk about adopting that Teams telephony, it's really some licensing and a dial pad that appears. All the features and functionality, there's not that 999 that we're accustomed to seeing with all those PBX. It's rather limited, but it's the core features that businesses truly need. So all that's happening in the background from an admin perspective, but that UI from an end user, it's very easy from an adoption perspective. They're already using it today.
Okay, very good. Another question we have here from the audience, do we need to move our UC to the cloud in order to implement the 5.9 cloud contact center solution? Brandon?
No, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, this goes back to, what are the investments and what makes sense for you on your journey in terms of, moving to the cloud. Remember, the cloud's not an end-all be-all for everyone. I will say that compared to the legacy, via Cisco, even if you have the legacy Nortel Blue or, Siemens or ShoreTel solutions, it's a lot better experience. You can do a lot more with it. So you don't have to. What I suggest, as a business owner, if I still had my business, would I be on-prem solutions? No, I wouldn't. But that's just me, and I live in this space. So.
Right. Thank you. Good. Okay, another question here. Can you comment on the belief that leveraging these best-in-class technologies allows companies to be more competitive? John, maybe you can take that one.
Sure, Adriana. Yeah, this is. I think the big takeaway here is that when you have a kind of a deep feature set and deep integrations and a cloud kind of first approach to doing these things, what you see there is potential for almost unlimited feature capabilities that can be added. And we have to keep in mind that with customer experience expectations being high now and changing on a regular basis, this is something that came out of the pandemic, right? When people were forced to work from home, had to shift to e-commerce, doing everything online. 1 week the businesses are open, the stores are there, you can go. Next week they're not. So there were a lot of these, a lot of anxiety amongst customers. How do I know what's happening there? And if the contact center can't really adapt on the fly to changing business conditions, that becomes really problematic. So it was meant, CPaaS was mentioned earlier, okay? And CPaaS is a capability. It means communications platform as a service. It's another branch of the tree here for cloud. And those capabilities translate to what we call programmable communications, meaning that you can develop new features on the fly and voice enable new features, voice enable processes and workflows that really can streamline a lot of stuff. This all adds up to the ability, Adriana, to customize and differentiate, because the contact centers that are going to do really well are the ones that can cater to customer needs. And one of the defining traits of today's, digital natives, the millennials, right, the always on connected generation, is they really value personalization, flexibility, and being able to kind of customize their experiences. So when you can deliver, and when first of all, when you can understand that need and deliver on it, that's where that kind of deep feature set and integrations really comes into play, because now you can really fine tune your capabilities. For example, in your contact center, you can have certain agents who are really good with chat. You can have some agents who are really good with digital channels like social media, really good with mobile engagement. When you can start really covering all those bases, that's how you differentiate. Because when you have a premise-based contact center that hasn't changed a whole lot, that model is very telephony centric. It's kind of single channel almost. Today it's multi-channel. That takes us into omni-channel, which is a whole other thing. But it's being able to kind of meet the customer where they are with their preferences, and that's how you differentiate.
Right, excellent. So important. And thank you, gentlemen, for all your feedback. Those are all the questions we have today. I'd like to now turn it back to Sangeeta for some closing remarks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Craig and Brandon and John. So yeah, you guys, everyone will be getting a recording of this session. And just to repeat, like if you have any questions, you can call the number on your screen there. That's Brooke, and you could email her as well. And the socials for 5-9 and Unity are listed below. You can check them out. Go to their website, unityconnected.com/59. Definitely go there. And if you're not already a member of GTACC, then just go to GTACC.ca. You can join for free. You can be in the know for all things contact center, customer experience, and a listing of our upcoming events. So on that note, we will wrap it up. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, 5-9. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that contributed to this. So thank you, Jess and Brooke. And everyone, take care and have a wonderful day, rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.